All right. Welcome to another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. This is episode, what number, Luke?
265.
Seems like we just said that.
We did.
And today we have Dr. Thomas Waller coming in from, where are you today, Tom?
Lincoln in England.
Lincoln in England. And Luke and I are coming in from the beautiful state of Colorado over here in Grand Junction. And as we this is my favorite question of all time to ask people on our show, and it's to get people that are chiropractors that have been through the whole process of becoming a doctor of chiropractic and telling their journey, telling their story. And I know that yours is going to be one that others are going to learn from, and they're going to pay attention to this first bit of the segment. So what is your chiropractic story, and what influenced you to become a chiropractor?
I love that question too. And I love how often when we ask that to some of the greats, they have these amazing stories. And I suppose mine just developed over time. The reason I'm a chiropractor is because my mum said, wouldn't it be a good idea to be a chiropractor? I had my heart set on a military career, and that was where I was going. And I thought, you know what, I'll throw my hat in the mix with chiropractic too. So I applied for both in the same weekend, got both offers on the same weekend to do. So I decided to do the military as a reservist and go study full-time chiropractic. So I kind of fell into it, and the way it developed from there was kind of through trial and boredom, if I'm honest. You know, I was that typical chiropractic student, very mechanical, didn't really think very left field, came out of university, went to work, and I got really bored in my first year of practice. And the boredom led me, as I normally do, to rebel slightly, to ask questions and to search. And what came out of that was a beautiful understanding of chiropractic, wonderful relationships with people in the profession, and moving into where I am today, and, you know, having a practice that I would consider stands for chiropractic. And in my time, taking the time to help others learn, grow, and develop their practice as well.
So let me ask you, like, your mom's influence on you. Why did she think that chiropractic would be a good path for you?
Because she'd had benefit from the chiropractor for ailments herself. I went to a chiropractor when I was a kid. And, you know, the funny thing is, all I remember from going to the chiropractor as a kid was I always had an appointment on the way to school, and the chiropractor would always mess up my hair before school. That's all I remember, is having to redo my hair in the car before I went into school. But I suppose the seed was planted, and they say chiropractic finds you, and it certainly found me, maybe in a convoluted way. But I'd say I'm one of the most passionate proponents of the profession nowadays.
And I know that earlier we were chatting, and you were mentioning to me that you have been doing some coaching. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how is that helping develop your career?
Well, I suppose if you're asking how it's helping develop my career, is the coach teaches what they have to learn, you know, and it makes me a more rounded person. It helps me find my blind spots when I'm helping others find theirs. The way I coach is I'm not a teacher. I'm not telling people how to do things. I'm helping them explore and discover how they want to do it. And, you know, if they stick to that, and like we spoke about before the show, is with a level of integrity, then they'll be able to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. So it helps me grow on a daily basis. The beautiful thing is, with sharing that, it helps others grow. And if we can all stick with a little bit more integrity, then, you know, what we can all achieve is extraordinary.
Well said. Well said.
So what would be some advice you'd give to someone to get more new patients?
Integrity. So it's really funny. So when you look at people trying to bring new patients in, I sometimes find it's very easy to go out and grab new patients. And that can fill your practice, but it can also fall out the back of your practice. And I think if we want to really create rich, sustainable, fantastic practices that are at the cornerstone of communities, which is really how we build a practice, is build a community, is to start all the way back with yourself and being as authentic as you can. Whenever we've had a really bad sales experience, it's not the sale experience that was the bad thing. It was the mismatch between the sale experience and the service experience. We got sold this by someone, and then the service came in very different to the sale. So my advice to get more new patients is to start to market yourself. Start to stand for something that you believe in and that you want to achieve. Market and create that sort of social proof first, and then there is the ability to lead a sale. So what I work with people and I teach authentic marketing, which leads to a logical sale. So if people want to get more new patients, they have to show up in the marketplaces themselves, create community, lead with the benefits that they can create for others, and then the sale becomes logical at the end of that.
So you said community a couple times. What's your favorite way to create community? Workshops, events, or what are you speaking on?
So I've done a lot on radio, which has built our community here. So I have a couple of wellbeing columns on local radio. Facebook, we put out daily posts on our practice Facebook page. We have every Wednesday wisdom email go out to our list, to our group, and we put pre-COVID events on in-house, and nowadays webinars. And it's really giving that creates the community, as opposed to trying to pull people in, is what I would say.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice to people. And I think, consistency is what you've said in a roundabout way, is you stay super consistent with your messaging and your connection.
It's so true. And people said, I put this campaign on, or I set this event and it didn't work. I said, well, what had you done for months before that? You plant a seed in the ground, you don't expect the tree to come out the next day. Consistency of action is so important. And that authentic consistency is true, because people will see through that if it's not.
And it's kind of like in chemistry. There's such thing called titration. And when you drop so much clear liquid into another clear liquid and it becomes a chemical response, the titration changes color. And that's chemistry. But it's also the chemistry of life. And it's also the chemistry of marketing, the chemistry of connection, the chemistry of consistency. And if people just followed a simple strategy of being more consistent with their messaging and their programming and their connection, they would see that the color would change eventually.
Yeah, and people are expecting such quick results these days. People are expecting to build a practice like that. New patients to flood in the next day. And I don't think there's enough chiropractors in the coaching space or leading chiropractic telling the truth. Like, you put in the work and you'll have a fantastic practice, but you've got to put in a little bit of work first.
So what are you doing for your family's health and your own personal health?
Me and my family don't necessarily agree on health, so I try and let them know what might be good for them, but they might choose to do otherwise. And over the last year, that's become more apparent. For my personal health, me and Jim spoke about this not long ago. It's habits. It's creating daily habits to really enrich my life. And I make the decision based on how I want to be in the future, or the person I want to become, not how I feel in the moment. The simplest one of that is we all wake up in the morning, the alarm goes off, and we don't want to necessarily get out of bed. But if we get out of bed, the habit that creates is a success for the future. So for me, it's hydration, it's exercise, it's eating clean, and not denying myself a treat. I'm not a saint. It's those few things that make me healthy, and my family, can take it or leave it.
So fitness wise, what type of things do you like to, what type of things keep you active?
Weight training, cycling, and running are my things. Running clears my head. Weight training fulfills my ego, and cycling makes me feel like a kid.
So as far as the running, I loathe running. What advice would you give to somebody if they wanted to start a running program?
Put your trainers on, put one foot in front of the other. I got some great advice in the military, and it was always start your run uphill. Always start your run uphill, because that will regulate your breathing quickly. And then the run just becomes easier.
Hey, that's good advice. I'll use that, because one of my things is to start a running program. And as I was mentioning to you earlier, I like cycling, I like hiking, I like weight training, but running's the missing component.
Yeah, and it's just, each to their own, and your knees start to feel it after a while, but it's just the freedom, the nature, clear of thought. That's what I enjoy.
Perfect. So you mentioned that you've kind of pivoted into distance workshops. How are you finding like distance workshops working for you in your office right now?
They're working well. They don't work as well as in-house. But they work well. It's a really interesting experience. For instance, I'm speaking at the Barcelona conference tomorrow, but it's obviously all virtual, and I pre-recorded that one. And that's just me in front of a camera, and there's no audience feedback. And if you've ever done, I've done a lot of live speaking, that's my thing. You're used to that audience feedback. Whereas when you're doing the webinars and online, it's a little bit more difficult. However, it really does come around the same sort of themes. And again, like you said, it's consistency. You put on the first workshop and people might not show. You put on the second one, you might have a few people there. But if people start to understand that every Thursday or every other Thursday there's something going on, you'll start to get the people come through and it will work.
And I just wanted to turn the page back a little bit. And Luke and I first met you, I believe it was in the summer of 2016.
Wow.
And the first day I met you, I was immediately inspired that I knew that you'd be somebody that was going to have a major impact and influence on the future of chiropractic. And you just had this this mentality of power. And I just wanted to acknowledge you for that first meeting that we had, that we didn't know what would happen. What is it? 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 5 years later, that we would be featuring you on our podcast and talking to you about what you're doing for practice growth and where you are today. So I think it was very fortuitous that we had a chance to have that first connection. But here we are today, both leading the way, you in the UK, us over here stateside. And it's really interesting to see how we've both planted the seeds and what kind of trees we see growing today.
And I completely agree. And, I would say exactly the same. The integrity I saw when I first met you was interesting. And the buzz was around the room, like, who's this Jim Chester guy who's come over to this conference? And he's like, I'm doing this. And you've done it. Like, you proved it. Like we were having the conversation not long ago, like, just show me in your actions. And you proved it.
Yeah, I think, a lot of times people, they have dreams, and dreams die fast. But if you have a vision, that's where you can cast it, and that's where it goes. And the dream's daily. That's the beautiful thing about life, is each day you can create new dreams. And if you work hard enough, you can sleep well too.
True.
So where do you see chiropractic heading in the next 20 years or so?
It was interesting. I was interviewing someone on my podcast this morning, and similar question came up. I think we have a choice right now. We have a time in humanity right now that we could really use to our advantage. And what we discussed on the show was the difference between acting on emotion and acting on thought. Acting on emotion or acting on logic. Chiropractors by nature are quite extroverted, quite emotional beings. It's what attracts us to doing what we do. But in that emotion, we sometimes make poor decisions. And we continue to create conflict within our profession. I think if we started to think a little bit more, use a little bit more logic, and work together, we really could stand for something that the world really needs. The world really needs a profession that empowers the people, a profession that knows where health comes from, a profession that respects every single member of the community. And if chiropractors can understand the potential that they have, swallow their ego and work together on it, I just think in 20 years, it'll be making huge change. It'll be extraordinary.
Yeah. And like I said, if you cast the vision strong enough and you are on the team and you keep people accountable and you lead with integrity, the profession will become the strongest. And I think, each person matters and each career matters and each adjustment matters. And if you allow people to be a part of a greater cause and a better future, everybody wants to be on that team, and nobody wants to be on the sidelines in that game. Everybody wants to play and everybody wants to be a part of that movement.
I'd say there's a great Pixar film. It's called Ants. Basically, the storyline in the Pixar film is that there's this huge colony of ants, and they're suppressed by these wasps. And these wasps are much bigger and much more brutal than these ants. And the ants, as tiny as they are, they far outnumber the wasps, but they don't realize it yet. But as soon as they realize it and they come together and they work together, they're able to use their sheer number to overcome these bullies and these wasps. And I think the same is true in chiropractic. We see ourselves as a small profession, but we're not. Because we're the leaders of big communities. We're the leaders of well-being within families, within our cities, within our communities. And if we can inspire not just ourselves and our practices, but the people that we serve, we are huge numbers. And that's what can create change. I used to sit on the board here in the UK for one of the national associations. And as much as I've sat on boards, change doesn't really happen at the top. It happens at the grassroots. It happens with, like you say, the consistency of actually doing the work instead of talking about the work. And I think if we all have that in mind, then it's a beautiful future.
Absolutely. One of the things I think we can really set an anchor on so we don't drift is the languaging of innate intelligence, that the power that made the body heals the body. The body needs nothing extra in it. It simply needs no interference. Once you remove subluxation, the body heals naturally. And it does have a downstream effect on the organ system, the immune system, and every gland and organ and tissue and cell in the body. And when people understand that the body needs nothing extra in it, just simply no interference. When you remove the subluxation, the downstream effect on health is, number one, healthier organ system. Number two, healthier immune system. And then when you have those two things going on, you have more vibrant life. And when you're talking about earlier, when a chiropractor stands for that, the people that practice the other type of healthcare, they want that too. And they support the chiropractors. And that's what we have to do, is get buy-in from the other healthcare professionals, because they're all under chiropractic care, because they know it has a profound impact on them and their family. So convert those that are on the other side of the table, that are propagating something else within pharmacology and cut it out, drug it out, burn it out care. And those people will be the top promoters of chiropractic long term.
I agree. I used to work in down south. I used to have the consultants from the pain clinic, as come in and see me for chiropractic, because they'd rather have what I did than what they would do to other people. And I think, like I said, now is a time for change, because people are going to have to make a choice of which side of the fence they stand on. And if we are serving those people and showing them the light, then it's extraordinary.
And if a chiropractor has a profound influence on the nervous system, which has a profound influence on the immune system, who wouldn't want that?
100%.
And right now, in this this political world crisis that we're in, of confusion for what health really is, I don't know anybody that takes more drugs or has more surgeries that has a better quality of life. And I know a lot of people that practice a healthy chiropractic lifestyle that are thriving. So that's the truth of the matter, is when people do practice healthy routines and practice a chiropractic philosophy for them and their family and their communities, that's really what people are looking for. They just don't know where to go or who to trust.
Yeah, and it pins right back to the foundations of our philosophy and it being deductive. Like, we have an understanding about the world, which is that there is an intelligence in life that maintains all actions and properties in existence. You know, it's a philosophy, science, and art of things natural. That's where chiropractic is. So if we understand that the world works in our favor and that the body's aim is towards health, with that simple understanding, we can then, in situations and times like now, take confidence in that. The confidence allows us to remove the fear. And the fear is one of the biggest things that's making people sick. You know, and if you're in that inductive sort of normal medical approach, then you are going to be very fearful because you're seeing 1 + 1 equals whatever they choose it to be, because they're changing the narrative. Whereas if you simply understand the concept of chiropractic, the intelligence that the body has and the ability to have to heal, and that the normal state is to strive for health, then you can sit really confident in a world that's full of fear.
And I, on the other hand of this, really appreciate being a journalistic front, because I can say a lot of things that a lot of chiropractors might not feel comfortable saying right now, just because of the way that the boards and the regulatory agencies look after chiropractors right now. I can be a megaphone with my messaging, and hopefully they are paying attention. So I urge them to pay attention to what Chiro Hustle is doing and how we position ourselves within the chiropractic truth, because we are, that's what we stand for. We protect free speech in chiropractic. And that's why we started this show when we started it, because there were some tenets that needed to be established, and that was protecting free speech in chiropractic. And when I came over and met you, I went and spoke at the AECC college, and I was urged not to say innate intelligence, and I was urged not to say universal intelligence or subluxation. And I said, when I got up on there to the podium, I said, well, I've been asked not to talk about innate intelligence, universal intelligence, or subluxation. So I'm glad I got that out of the way.
So basically, you just said 3 cuss words and made everybody's ears bleed at ATC.
And guess what? They haven't asked me back.
Yeah.
So who have been some of your heroes on this chiropractic journey of yours?
I'd say there's two people that have really stuck out in terms of my journey. Jim Sigafus would be one of those. The pleasure to see him when he came to London and speak to him. He taught me how to toggle an atlas, which was unbelievable. Something that they didn't teach us at college, believe it or not. And Les Brown, listening to Les Brown tapes. And I think the one thing that Les Brown said that really helped me get going at the start was, he said, you don't have to be great to get started, but you've got to get started to be great.
Amen.
Which I'm sure was what you guys absolutely have, epitomized with your show to create what you've created today.
We've had Les on the show.
Have you?
Yeah.
He's a great guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's one of my heroes too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, listening to Les, do his Georgia Dome talk, where he's talking about taking over the radio station.
Yeah, I love that. This is Baby Brown's boys coming back. I love it.
Yeah, it was
Very
just
true.
an epic connection when you can meet a world changer like that. And we didn't get the pleasure of meeting Sigafus. I didn't ever get the pleasure of meeting many of the legends. Jim Parker. Wish I would have had a chance to meet him. Reggie Gold, didn't get a chance to meet him.
But I think what's interesting about that is they stood for something so strong, and they had such a powerful impact with their time that it's left you wishing that you'd seen them. And you've, without actually directly meeting them, you've been influenced indirectly by them, which is legacy.
Yeah, and guys like Sid Williams, man, I could just imagine what it would be like to sit, knee to knee with some of these guys that we just mentioned their names, and to just have the opportunity to have 2 minutes with them. And I know that the greats before us create the greats after them. So we will continue carrying the torch for the profession. And one of the questions you asked me early on when you interviewed me for your show was, why did I dedicate my life to chiropractic? And the truth was, I didn't tell you, was I did some soul searching and I looked for truth around the world. And the one thing that I believed in 100% was chiropractic. So that's why I dedicated my existence to saying this is something I'm going to support with my education and with my enthusiasm, because people need the truth of something that can help them. And I was really dismayed by the medical arena at 30 years old. And I was like, I don't believe in any of this stuff. Like, why don't people just eat well and keep a healthy body? Like, isn't that enough? Why do people need medicine? Like, crisis care, sure. But for longevity and for quality of life, chiropractic. First, second, third, 10th, 20th, 50th. Like, chiropractic first, all day, every day. So that's why when I first became influenced into the chiropractic world, that's why I do what I do today, because I believe everybody should have the opportunity to get checked for vertebral subluxation and adjusted regularly from cradle to grave. And if that's a world that we can create together through speaking truth, that's a world I want to live in.
I agree. And even, the adjustment, but also the understanding. Like you say, eating well, moving well, thinking well, living a life that's congruent to a human being. That's what we can stand for.
So, as we get to the end of this episode, why don't you tell us a miracle story that's happened in your office?
I normally get in trouble for telling these stories, if I'm honest. So I'm going to tell you a miracle story. And it's probably not the one you're expecting to hear. I moved to Lincoln, where I live, when I first graduated 11 years ago. And joined a rugby team. Met a friend, and the friend was moving to Canada. Went to his leaving do. And at his leaving do, I met a lady. This lady later became my wife, Sarah. And she was a police officer at the time. And she remained a police officer for the first 5 years of our relationship. And she saw the potential of chiropractic and what I was doing for people probably more than I saw it myself. And she believed in what I was doing. And she knew that there was something better for her with her life. And she'd become a police officer to help other people. But you may or may not understand that in law enforcement, it's very hard to actually help the people that you're there to serve. So she quit. And she decided to become a chiropractor. And she graduated just a year ago. And she's now working in the office. And she's changing lives every single day. And that to me is a miracle.
Very profound. And I think that that's the truth of the matter for so many people, is you just have to give yourself permission to do what you're best at. And if it's serving people, serve people in the capacity that's best for you. And do it with integrity, and do it within a system that you have buy-in to, and be recognized for that. And I think that that's something to be said, whether you're a filmmaker, whether you're a journalist, whatever hat you wear, do something to make an impact that you believe in. And if it's something that you've signed up for that you quit believing in, sign up for something new.
Yeah.
The worst travesty is to live a life that isn't yours.
So true. And like we said on, on the show we did earlier, today is not repeated tomorrow. Make something of it.
Give yourself permission to be great.
Thank you. I do.
So what are some of your websites where people can look you up online?
So the easiest one is probably drtomwaller.com, drtomwaller.com. Inspiredyou.uk, inspiredyou.uk. That's our coaching website. And then Instagram, Dr. Tom Waller is probably the easiest place to find me.
Well, Dr. Tom, we want to thank you for being a guest on our show today. I know that we're going to open the eyes, the ears, and the hearts of many people. And it might be a truth that they don't want to hear, but it's a truth that they will hear. And it's going to be our perception of what reality is for them from our lens. So it's full of integrity and full of truth. And it's a show that I really feel near and dear to my heart, because we got a chance to connect two sides of the globe together for one mission, and that's to promote the beautiful profession of chiropractic.
Thank you very much to both of you. Luke and Jimmy do a great job, and you really are changing the world. Thank you.
Well, have a great rest of your day, and tell Sarah hello for us.
We will do. Take care.
All right. See you.
Nice seeing you.
Bye.